when that storm hits, when the wave hits and it hits hard, and it has a tendency to knock leaders out of clarity and into fear.
Yeah.
It has a tendency to knock leaders out of response and into reaction.
100%.
The most dangerous moment in any business owner's life when facing tough times is not the tough times. The most dangerous moment is your first reaction to those tough times. Hey, welcome to the 3PX show. Thank you for watching or listening. Hey, you know what I noticed? Like Spotify usage is spiking up. It used to be like the vast majority was Apple podcast.
Okay.
And now Spotify is up to 30% of our listeners who don't watch the show like on YouTube or wherever, but they listen to the show on a podcast thing. Spotify is 30% now.
That's
I don't know what's happening with Spotify, but they're like
listening to it on the drive into work or on the way home. Because I listen to Spotify a lot. I don't know if you do, but if I'm going to have my music streaming, it's going to be Spotify.
And I should have had the country list, but we're up to like 15 countries.
Oh.
Have you looked at that lately?
I have not. That's pretty awesome.
15 different countries all around the world. So if you're listening to this, wherever you are around the world, that's pretty cool. We really appreciate you listening and
Thank you for listening.
hoping this adds value to your day, to your life, to your career kind of thing. So Wayne and I were talking just before the show that we're pretty excited about this episode because we're not going to just talk about something that we went through 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago and share our experience. I mean, as you know, Wayne and I are actively operating businesses every single day. We're not like some folks where, they talk about they own all these businesses and all that. Well, but they're really not operating.
Right.
Maybe they operated 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But I think one of the benefits to listening to Wayne and I is like we are operating businesses today through thick and thin, through political storms and through bad weather and cultural shifts and employees and all that. Like we're navigating in the now. And that's what today's show is about.
Yeah. And you got to continue to navigate through that. And you also got to just put out the noise that's on the outside, right? And just say, hey, we got to focus on what we do. Can't really change anything that's going out there anyway. And so just focus on what we do and do it well. But we're navigating a lot of different things going on. There's a lot of puzzles, and there are multiple companies that are doing that we're doing, and it's but it's fun though. It's exciting. There's not every day is fun as the day before, but it is fun. We're having a good time.
So this episode, this is not retrospective. This episode, we're going to talk about very, very current times, things that we're dealing with. So this isn't about theory and what we think someone should do or how we should have handled something. Like this is we're living it, we're in it. We're gonna share exactly kind of some of the things that we've been through recently. And Wayne and I were talking, and we just came to the conclusion that there's probably a lot of businesses that are struggling with several of the same things. And it would be great to just talk to people about how did we stay focused? What levers did we pull? How did we maintain cash flow? Because you can pull the wrong lever in a rough season. You can pull the wrong lever and you can make the rough season worse, or you can make the rough season last longer by doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I love the title of it too, but because we're still in the thick of everything, right? I mean, it's just we've pulled some levers, and the levers that we've pulled have made sense and they've worked. Which is the nice thing. Not all the time that you can pull a lever and it does exactly what you want it to, but some of the levers we pulled have helped us a lot doing the things that we needed to do and stretch the cash flow the way we needed it to be stretched. And honestly, we haven't had to dip into our reserves and anything like that. So that's the good part.
Well, I'm sure at this point, everyone listening is like on the edge of their seat, right?
They are.
So we're going to get into it. I'm going to set the stage, and then I would love for Wayne to talk about some of the levers we pulled and why, and we'll get into that conversation. And but here's what I want to set this. Here's how I want to set the stage first. I did verify this with Angela, so I'm not getting up here lying. This is truth from our CFO. Between the months of January and February, CDF had a negative net income.
Which is the first time in Several
since
years.
I've been here.
Yeah, so it's 4 or 5 years. Yeah,
And most of that was planned.
yeah, you're right.
Okay. So to be fair, CDF had a negative net income, but positive cash flow.
Right.
Let that sink in if you're listening to this. Negative net income over a 2-month period, but we put more money in the bank. We generated a positive cash flow, more money coming in than money going out. And what we're going to talk about today is exactly how we did that, and hopefully some tips that that you can put into your business. So first, all right, let me set this up.
All right.
We're talking specifically about the CDF business. Okay, CDF is one of our core businesses. They do commercial door frame and hardware. We do light manufacturing. We do fabrication. We do distribution, storefront doors, commercial metal, wood doors, you name it, and we ship fast. Well, if you've been following along in the podcast, then you know that we've been moving all of our people, the companies, into a brand new facility, larger space. The first of those moves was moving the CDF business operations.
Yeah.
So we planned an entire shutdown for a full week.
Yeah.
We were shutting down operations, which meant zero invoicing.
Right. Exactly.
No invoicing dollars going out. That's how we book revenue on our P&L, right? Is invoice dollars when
That's
we're
the start of
shipping
that
outdoors.
negative.
That's
net
how it
income.
all starts when you're not invoicing
When
anything.
you don't
So,
invoice, you can't make money.
We had a planned shutdown.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had a planned shutdown in that like second week of January while we're moving. At the same time, CDF is implementing a brand new website, new configuration tool, brand new CRM, new tax tool, new payment partner, payment processing partner.
Yeah.
We also launched a new inventory database. We updated SKU naming. Like we were making lots of internal changes in CDF. Okay. That implementation was actually supposed to happen back in October, but due to some delays and really wanting to get things right before we launched, it ended up getting pushed till when? January. The same time frame that we're shutting CDF down and moving into a new facility, it also became the exact same time that we're launching a brand new system and working through all those pains. Now, for most of you that are in the construction services industry and all that, like January is not the best time of the year. So we'd already kind of planned for a downturn, right? But this January, demand eroded a little bit more than what we'd expected from a seasonality standpoint. Now, thankfully, that's all bounced back as we sit here today, and we're going to talk about that on a future episode. But demand came down on top of launching the new website, which already kind of creates problems, when you for organic search and other things. So demand dropped down. Then, for all of you that are in the Middle Tennessee, Nashville area, I feel like it was worse for us. We got hit with like a 10-year ice storm.
I think it was more like a 30-year ice storm.
30-year ice storm.
Yes.
I felt like I was back in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Well, we're not built for that.
No, the last time we had that was in 1994, I think, because Catherine, my oldest, was 1.
Dude, it shut us down.
It did for another week almost.
For a whole week.
And it was back. We were down for the week. We were getting ready to come back. And I'll kudos to our team, because our team knocked it out when they made the move, because we had to move an entire operation, equipment, people, inventory, everything.
Racks.
We did it in a week, and they had it done actually probably quicker than a week. And so when we get ready to start up the following Monday, the ice storm hits Sunday, and then we're down.
We couldn't. The whole parking lot was like an ice rink.
It was, and even if we got our people back to start doing things, well, trucking companies can't get in there either with the big 18-wheelers to pick up our product, and so
trucks weren't running, so we couldn't ship anyways.
It was like that perfect storm.
And even when we did start back, we had like 30% show up.
Yeah,
that's barely enough to run 1 or 2 lines.
Exactly.
So this is not woe-is us.
No,
this is real life. What we dealt with, and then Wayne's in my office, which doesn't happen very often when we have these conversations. But Wayne's in my office like, dude, cash is vaporizing fast. This is the shout out to Profit First.
Exactly.
Because you saw it in real time. And then we had a conversation.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's all about the pivot, right? So, you already expect a little bit of a slower time, but we have done such a good job. Our team has, and our CFO, and just the accounting team overall, as we've managed our money and everything, and so we have a system where you're putting money into each end of buckets every 2 weeks. So we pay our bills every 2 weeks, and we take advantage of paying our vendors early, get early pay discounts, and so
1%, 2% sometimes,
exactly.
and when it's on it could be on a $200,000, $300,000
invoice,
dollar invoice.
That adds up.
Those percentages add up fast.
Yeah. I mean, we get a 6-figure, basically, discounts per year. So I mean, there's a lot of money there. So that pays for part of your accounting team. You can allocate it however you want to allocate it, right? But it pays for a lot. But during that time, and I'm not the one that made the decision. Angela, our CFO, did, and it was the right decision. So she made it. But we looked at it and said, hey, how do we recoup? How do we make sure that we're still safe on all that? And so made the decision. So instead of paying our bills every 2 weeks, because when you do that, you pay it every 2 weeks, you're also paying somewhere, hey, our terms for our vendors are net 30. Well, we're paying them in net 20 or net 19, somewhere in that area. And maybe they're getting that and not even giving us a discount. It's just because our pay cycle
right.
works. And so one of the things to do is, well, let's just pay our vendors on time. So we're not doing anything to them. We're still paying them on time, right? Because I don't want to pay vendors late. I'm very big about making sure that we take care of our vendors on time. But so we took that from a net 19, net 20 that we were paying on average to go on a net 30. Well, that extra 10 days is extra carrying of your cash flow, right? And so now all of a sudden it almost dumps cash flow in there, because you've got the cash coming and you've got your bills that now you can not necessarily even stretch them out. You're just stretching them out to the due date, and then you're paying them. And we do pretty much everything with wire or ACH. So we're not, hey, the check's in the mail. We don't play that game. It's but we pay it on when it's due and that kind of thing. And so it works out, but it just, like Steve said, we may have had a negative net income in our business in January, but when you looked at the cash flow, we were just all of a sudden, like you said, pumping more cash flow into our profit account, into our tax accounts, doing the things that we needed to do just to make sure that we are in a great place. We still making the move. Right now, we're still in the middle of the move, moving our offices over. And there's really not a lot of stress on it because we've just managed our cash so well. I mean, so we've done a great job doing that, and it's just allowed us the freedom to take care of the move, to continue to do what we're doing with the business, and really just move forward in a positive way. So you don't even feel like there was a negative net income, because we did invoicing before the move, and then after the move, we just had to do a lot of catch up. Again, our team has done an excellent job of catching up really quick too. So February, I haven't looked at the final numbers on February. Well, we won't have those for probably another week, but they've done an excellent job.
110% to budget.
Yeah. So I mean, that already tells it right there, right?
Some of that demand started bouncing back a lot sooner. So just to recap the two things that Wayne's talking about, and I want to break it down into two really simple steps that we recognized. And the difference here is when that storm hits, when the wave hits, and it hits hard, and it has a tendency to knock leaders out of clarity and into fear.
Yeah.
It has a tendency to knock leaders out of response and into reaction.
100%.
We looked eyeball to eyeball, and we decided, okay, how do we want to handle this? Right. And we made some moves.
Exactly.
The very first thing that we did was we moved all of our early pay discounts up to the maximum terms that we were offered by our vendors. So that meant, rather than paying a vendor at 14 days, we would push them all the way out to 30 days, or we may even have some vendors at 45 days. I'm not sure. But that right there puts between 2, 3, or 4 weeks of cash flow from that vendor right back into the bank, because you're not having to write that check.
Yeah.
For us, that move was several $100,000. Massive, massive impact for that short-term issue just by making that one change. Now, if you're looking long-term, that's not a great long-term strategy because, we're basically eroding the early pay discount that we had, right?
Right.
But in that short term, it was the right decision for us. It was a cash infusion that we needed. And then as the business stabilizes and as payables kind of right size with the move and everything, then we will work back towards that early pay discount.
Exactly.
As cash allows us to. So that was the first thing that we did. And that was a big move. And want to reiterate to Wayne's point, we didn't pay vendors late.
Yeah, exactly.
We just moved to our normal terms or we negotiated extended terms.
Yeah.
That's it. That's very normal. Any one of you listening, if you're leading a business, you could do that right now if you're in a cash crunch. Look at the vendors. If you've got vendors that a lot of folks, when you get the bill in the mail, you just write the check and pay it.
I know so many people that do that, and they're talking about how tough it is. They're in a cash crunch. It's like, well, just pay your vendors. I respect paying your vendors really quick because I do that, and I love it when people do that for us because, you can say there's not favoritism or there's not this or that, but when you pay a vendor quick, they're gonna respect that. And you're gonna earn a little bit more trust with them, and they're gonna step out on faith a little bit more with you. But when you pay them on time, it's still the same. I mean, that's the thing. If they've given you net 30-day terms, then we're just taking advantage of the net 30-day terms. We're giving ourselves a little more freedom with our cash flow up front and early. And then once we start getting that busy season again, we'll have that cash flow built up to a point where when we start pulling that back and we start taking advantage of the discounts again, we're ready for it, and we're in perfect spot. So it was just the right lever to move, and it worked perfectly for us. And when it comes time to go back, it'll be easy to go back.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. We just went to paying on the terms that we had previously agreed on with our vendors.
Yep.
Then the second thing that we did, which was this one messed with Wayne a little bit. I'll never forget when Angela said this is what she's doing. It kind of messed with you a little bit because we view ourselves as profit first purists.
Yeah.
I mean, we are every 2 weeks, every other Friday.
Well, it's just a cycle, right? I've been doing that for years.
This is what we do. So Angela's like, hey, I got this idea. We switched to weekly. And at first it's like, help me understand. And then once you look at the impact that had, the difference is rather than paying a vendor on day 24, you can pay them on day 30 or day 31. Rather than paying them on day 14 of the term,
right, you
could pay them on day 28. It gives you an extra week, 2 weeks in some cases, you have more cash going out so you can hit their terms closer to the maximum side of their terms. That was another several $100,000.
Yeah, well, the longer the cycle that you go, so we go 14 days or every other Friday kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But the longer the cycle, the more money it can take at times, right? Because you are paying them you're paying some vendors sooner than other, unless you just really get, your accounting is just so micromanaged that it takes so much time to do it. And so when you pull it back up and you go from say 14 days to 7 days, well, that makes that cycle smaller. And it gives you more flexibility to pay them, like you said, on time. And that 28 to 31 or 32 days, you're right in that window, and it just hits better, and it gives you more cash flow for an extended period. And it also keeps you from having to go to the bank, or it keeps you from having to go into your line of credit so deep. Because we have line of credits as well that we use, but the whole goal on that too is not to use it all the time, because now we're paying interest on that, and our
pay it off every cycle.
Yeah, and pay it off every cycle. So we were doing that, and so it worked out perfectly. That was a second lever that we pulled that was great. And like you said, when Angela did it, I just wasn't used to it, because that's just not how the profit first system works. But it worked great, and it's really the whole team responded well to it. And they just accepted it and did it. And they're like, well, this is going to be a little bit extra work, but really that's just that they were already used to it from working with other companies maybe. And it just, I haven't heard the first hiccup with it at all.
So just to be clear, we're not panicking. We didn't have to dip into profit even one time. We didn't have to go lean on credit or take out lines of credit. Because to be honest with you, we were using at this time right now, we're leaning on credit for other investments.
Yeah.
For Forward and
Right.
and for some other businesses. So it was not a good time, even if that was a lever we wanted to pull, really wasn't a good time for us to take on debt to finance short-term cash crunch.
Yeah.
Right. I won't get into that too much, but that could be an option for some of you listening, utilizing line of credit to finance short-term cash crunch if you know it's short-term and you know demand's going to come back and you've got a plan in your budget to recover from that. That could be an option for you. It just wasn't for us based on the things that we were investing in,
Right.
and it's not today. And then the other thing that we didn't do is we didn't pretend everything was okay. We didn't put our head in the sand. We didn't just gut through it. Like when those moments come up where you've got to make decisions, you got to make decisions and stick with it. Now.
Well, let me say this
No,
real
go
quick
ahead.
because sometimes you hear people saying I use other people's money and stuff, and so when you use other people's money, it's using the bank's money. Well, if we go into the line of credit, we're using the bank's money. If we extend or do whatever and stop taking the early pay discount and we extend it to 30 days, well, guess what? We're still not using the vendor's money because we're not extending it any more past than what we said, than what they given us terms. We're actually just using our money. So it's still the money that we had. It's like we're just doing the terms. We're just extending them. That helps us more than it does anything. We are the ones that in a sense lose because it's not really our vendors because they're going to give us a discount to pay them quicker. So they're not necessarily losing either because they're gaining more money. So really at the end of the day, we were just using our money in a different way, in a more strategic way for us at the point, if that makes sense.
Those small timing decisions, made right, executed right, compound a lot faster and a lot bigger than the big strategic decisions.
Yeah, because we had the line of credit, we've got reserves sitting to the side. We just chose to make another decision. So we had the nice part about it, and the nice part about I would say with the Profit First, and why I always tell companies, hey, make sure you have a system and make sure that every dollar is allocated. Every dollar has a bucket that it's going into. So every single dollar has a purpose. Because if you have that and you have that system laid out for you and you've worked it for a while and it works really well for you, then when times like this come, you're prepared for it. And then you have several decisions, honestly, to make. And we could have made a different decision and it still could have been the right decision. This is the one that we chose and it's just worked out really, really well for us.
I was just about to say the reason why this was so easy for us is because we have a system.
Yeah. There you go.
If you don't have a system, then it's almost like you have to be creative on how to solve a problem.
Yeah.
But because we have a system, all we had to do was look at our Profit First system, and there are levers in that system.
Exactly.
That are kind of, I don't want to say they're like built in, but they're basically built in for times like this that you can just pull. You don't have to get creative. You don't have to agonize over it for 2 weeks. You evaluate the system and then choose which lever in the system you want to pull to solve this problem.
And it can be so stressful if you don't. I mean, I grew up in a family business. I've been a part of other businesses that did not have the system like what we have. And when times like this hit, because there will be times that will hit, and if you're not prepared for it, you're talking about the stress, especially for a business owner or even the managers or CFOs, whoever is managing the cash flow, just that group of people, or maybe it's just the owner by themselves, it creates a tremendous amount of stress, and it's undue stress. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about how to put the right system in place. They have a great idea on the product, but they don't understand the cash flow and what that truly means and the freedom that truly gives you.
Yeah. And just to be clear, the system didn't solve the problem.
No.
It gave us time.
Yes.
It allowed us space and clarity to see what's happening, to continue to make good decisions, to not panic, to not get stressed out. The worst thing you can do as a leader is present that frustration, that panic, that fear, that worry, that stress on your team.
Exactly.
So this is the other side of this coin is what could have happened. And quite frankly, what I have seen happen in my previous experiences, what you have probably seen happen in your previous experience, that I think the reactive thing to do that we have seen is immediately go to cutting headcount,
Right.
Well, that's the easiest lever to pull. We'll just cut costs, right? So we'll furlough people. We'll lay people off. We'll look at the last 10 people that were hired and we'll immediately lay them off and all that kind of stuff. We see that all over the place. And we see those very bad long-term decisions being made over short-term problems. And that's terrible for your culture. We won't even get into that. But the other thing that you can do in a reactive mode is you can almost kind of go wild on, well, we need to generate more cash.
Right.
Well, think about the position we were in.
Yeah.
New system, working the bugs out, training people still. Now, we did great training, don't get me wrong, but now things are coming fast and furious and people are still learning. And it's January. So there's just not a whole lot of fish in the barrel, that time of the month. So that was not the right time to say, well, we're just going to go try to motivate sales. We're going to go throw out a big sales incentive, or we're going to start applying pressure. Oh, hey, how about this? You didn't hit your sales goal for January, which we missed by about $1 million. We're just going to start writing people up. You didn't hit your budget. You underperformed. We invest in all these new tools. It could have gotten really bad for us had we had reacted and made the wrong decision.
You're right. But so if we go back to...
Which we've done before, by the way.
We have done before. But if we go back to November, December, even early last year when we decided that, hey, we're going to, because one thing that we didn't decide that we, like you said earlier, we were going to have the website and then we're going to have the move months apart.
I told you. I said the one thing we cannot do, we cannot launch this website and move the companies at the same time.
And within
that would
a 2-week
crush us.
period, it did. But
almost the same day it felt like.
But we had already planned that we knew we were going to take a dip. So when you already know that you're going to take some sort of a dip, we were already somewhat prepared for it. We just didn't realize that we were going to have an ice storm that was going to really take that dip even further. But it is what it is. But we had planned for it. And another thing too that lever that we probably pulled a little bit is just making sure our inventory is balanced right. So don't buy the extra stuff that we usually could buy and everything, but make sure that we have the right things, because inventory is a big part of it too. If you're still stockpiling inventory, then that can mess you up, because maybe inventory doesn't hit the P&Ls, but the inventory is going to hit the balance sheet. Well, when inventory hits the balance sheet, guess what? You got to pay for it.
That's cash.
That's cash.
I didn't even think about talking about that, but we pulled that lever starting at the end of the year because we were doing year-end inventory.
Yep.
We were getting ready for the move, and our CFO says, hey, we're heavy on some stuff. Like we got pods and containers, out back there full of inventory. So quite frankly, this is a weakness for us right now, as we just hadn't been managing inventory very, very well. And as soon as she started really driving towards, well, let's right size the inventory and bring some things down and slow down. Now there was a little pushback in purchasing, if anyone from purchasing is watching, or procurement, hey, I love y'all. There was a little pushback in purchasing because we had budgeted for certain buys.
Right.
And some folks were still buying based off what we were budgeted to buy, not necessarily based off of what do we actually need to buy based on the inventory that we already have available. Dude, and you talk about within 30 days or so, that sucker starts turning and you can see the cash too.
Yeah, but there were, like you said just a second ago, that's a spot that we had some levers that we were pulling wrong until we right-sized it, right? Because we were buying towards budget, and we saw that we were heavy in certain items, and then other items that we really, really needed, we started running out of.
We were light, quite frankly.
We were light. And so, we had to right that ship, and that made a huge difference for us when we did that. The second thing is when we made the move. So if you know anything about our business and have ever been to where our older location is where we are right now doing the podcast, this building was full of material, full of people. I mean, it was like ants just everywhere.
It's Mississippi fire ant mound around here.
That's what it was, exactly. And we also had 8 to 10 containers in the back lot full of material.
Packed.
Well, when we made that move, and then we emptied all those containers and moved them all over, I started looking, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize we had this much inventory. Because you can see it now. You can visually see it and understand this is what it is. Now, we do a lot of volume. I mean, we do a tremendous amount of volume. I think last year we did sold around 50,000 doors. So that's a lot of volume.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's 440 doors, I think, per truckload that come in. So when you equate that to, that's just a lot of truckloads that we buy. So we buy things by the containers, by the truckloads. But when you started seeing that amount come in, hey, we had to have a lot of material, but really it opens everybody's eyes at that point. I think it opened procurement's eyes, our CFO's eyes, our eyes is like, okay, there's a lever we can pull right here. Now we can't pull it hard, but we can make adjustments that right sizes the ship and everything. So not only do you do that, not only do you make the cash flow adjustment. So now all of a sudden, the next thing you know, there's $500,000 $1 million right there. That's just sitting there waiting to take advantage of. And if you're a small business or big, it doesn't matter. You gotta watch those things because, for us, we had the ability or the freedom to be able to have extra. And so because we always want to make sure that we don't run out. I mean, because one of our big things is on-time fulfillment. So we run 97% or higher as to how quickly we take care of our customer, because that's super important. And that's one of those KPIs that we always look at. And so, we always want to make sure, hey, let's make sure we have enough material, but you can't have too much either, because that can drain so much cash flow. And like I said, you can show that you're making money on paper on your P&Ls, but you can be broke big time because you're spending it all on inventory. So you got to make sure those two balance.
Well, last thing we want to say here before, I kind of move to close is the profit first system, the systems that we run, they don't prevent a disruption all the time. They can't always prevent problems, but what the systems do is they allow you to keep operating at a high level through the storms, through the disruption, through the problems, because you've got systems that create guardrails for you to make great decisions in your business. It allowed us to actually kind of level up to that 30,000 foot view and see what's happening and make the right decisions because we had the right system in place.
Right, and the one of the last things I'll say on this as well is if you have a system, it doesn't have to be profit first. We use it, and we've just added to it over the years, and it's a great system because it just gives you clarity with every single dollar. But if having profit first allowed us to be able to see an issue and a problem before it became an issue and a problem, right? I mean, because like you said, there's several times I've come into your office over the past several years where like, hey, we're spending, the money's not coming in and we're spending a lot more money going out kind of thing. And you can kind of see it. And before you know it, it's, this is what's happening. But so if you don't have a good system, then it can get away from you real quick.
Yeah, real quick. So listen, I want to speak directly to our listeners, to our viewers, and that is, you might be dealing with slow demand, you might be dealing with operational disruption, weather events, system implementation, general cash pressure. I want you to know you're not failing. Okay,
right.
This is normal. This is what leadership looks like in volatility. This is what happens. You're not failing. You're okay. Your business is going to be fine. The takeaway here is building systems that will help navigate through those storms, whether it's a literal ice storm or whether it's being shorthanded, whether it's frontline manager issues, whether it's supply chain issues. Well, we could do a whole podcast on diversified supply chain.
Right.
Right. So I won't start that podcast while I'm trying to finish this one, but,
exactly.
But that's probably another one we could talk about because I'll chase a rabbit. I'll just stop. But be on the lookout for a supply chain podcast, diversified supply chain podcast coming up. So you're not failing. This is normal. Okay. And, the last thing I'll say, and I'll give Wayne the last word, is if this kind of resonates with you, share this with an operator, share this with another business owner, share this episode with somebody, and then start looking for making decisions with the right timing.
Yes.
Don't just focus on goals. Don't just focus on totals. Don't just focus on outcomes, but time your decisions properly inside the business, because I always say the right decision at the wrong time is the wrong decision.
Exactly.
So you want the right decision at the right time, and don't allow yourself to get clouded by some of the volatility and things that could be happening around you.
Right. And just one last key point, I guess I would say, is it's not if the storm comes, it's when the storm comes, right?
Ain't that the truth?
And so they're going to happen, and it depends on how big the storm. Sometimes you're the one that determines how big the storm is, based off of how the reaction is. And so we chose here not to be reactionary. We chose to be proactive instead of reactive, and it's made a world of difference for us. But we already had backups everywhere, so we had the freedom to do reactive. Proactive instead of reactive. And so, because they are going to come at times, and sometimes those are tests for you to understand where you are and what you're doing. And when things like that happen, it exposes a lot of the holes and a lot of the gaping holes that you don't normally see when things are busy. When all of a sudden you don't invoice for 2 weeks or so, things, then, they're still busy, but you see things opening up, and it's like, okay, hey, we need to fix that.
Yeah. Then the last thing I'm going to say is that the most dangerous moment in any business owner's life when facing tough times is not the tough times. The most dangerous moment is your first reaction to those tough times. That's what matters most. So, hey, next episode, we're going to talk about, now that you're kind of through the storm, you're in this weird kind of, are we okay? Are we not okay?
Exactly.
kind of moment. So
Yep.
we're going to talk about that. It's kind of like the next step in this, but we really appreciate you listening or watching to the 3PX show. We love you. We thank you. And, find us online, engage with us on our social medias, like, share, subscribe, and all the things. And we cannot wait to talk to you the next time. See ya.
See you later.